Joining us now, an NFL legend who played 16 seasons in the NFL at wide receiver, a 3-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, Walter Payton Man of the Year, Mr. Hall of Famer Cris Carter. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me, Kay.
It's good to see you. Where should we start? Can we start with Trey Lance to the Cowboys? What do you think?
Well, for one, San Francisco, and I thought the video that you played and the connection of Kyle Shanahan and the emotion that typically we're not going to see from a coach attached to a player. And 99% of the players that play in the NFL and drafted, we need a system, a coach that really helps bring out our strengths and not our weaknesses. And Kyle Shanahan, if he is a quarterback whisperer, and this is going to go down potentially as one of the worst trades in the history of what they traded away to get him, and then now get up the fourth rounder for him. So Kyle Shanahan being very, very frank. I'm glad he ended up in Dallas because I do believe there'll be a real opportunity there. But his injuries, the broken finger, the ankle, those things are real in the NFL. If you can't stay healthy, you're not going to be able to get better at playing the game. And if he gets in a shorts throwing contest with Purdy, he's not going to be able to win that because he can't utilize his athleticism. And that's what football is in the summer and the preseason. So I'm glad he ended up somewhere like Dallas, but San Francisco. It's amazing that they can make this type of blunder and still have the type of roster that they have. Because typically, this would cripple a franchise.
Now, the Cowboys side, they're stacked, they're loaded for bear, they're ready to go. If you're Dak, are you feeling some kind of way about this move for Trey Lance?
Well, if you know anything about the NFL and you know your replacement is one injury behind you, and with that, 1 or 2 bad games or interceptions behind you, yeah, I think Jerry Jones and what they're doing in Dallas is the right thing. They get a talent that they can look at and have in their building, in their system. Because also, if you look at what's the word about Kyle Shanahan and this system around the NFL, it's very complicated. It's hard to learn. It takes a long time to build, to try to master that system. Now, that speaks to Purdy, how good he is, but also Trey Lance, maybe a different system really brings out his talent. But I like where Dallas is right now. And, of course, he should be looking over his shoulder because it's a real thing, because this is the most talented backup that's been behind him since they made the exchange with Tony Romo, went into the broadcast booth.
To me, Trey Lance, when I watch him, it just seems like somebody with a lot of developing to do. When you watch with the limited stuff that we've seen, do you think he has it? Does Trey have it?
I don't think anyone knows that yet, but I do think that he still has an upside that's worth looking into. I think a team like Dallas that can support him, especially being able to protect him. They got explosive offensive weapons in the backfield at the wide receiver position. So, yes, I do think that is a good system for him. San Francisco, if you look at Kyle Shanahan and the quarterbacks that he has been engaged with, typically they don't have a long relationship. So he's still trying to figure out, how to develop these guys to bring out the best in their overall ability. But I do believe there in Dallas he can continue to develop.
Yeah, he's got the talent, right? It seems to be like he's behind the ball with some of the hesitancy we sort of see when we're watching him. But this is the kid who blew the Niners away with his IQ, with how intelligent he is. And that's part of why they moved up to draft him. So if he just gets somewhere he can develop, and maybe that's Dallas. I made the case all last week, like he should go to the Vikings. He should go there, back up Kirk. Kirk's going to leave. He's going to want that bag of money. We know how Kirk works. And he could be there with a team that's rebuilding, but a team that has not addressed the quarterback spot at all. How are you feeling about your Vikings this year? I know you talked to Justin Jefferson.
Well, Justin Jefferson, he is really ready for the season. I did go down to training camp, visit with him. He said he's been working on a couple of things as far as in his game, weaknesses that he believes now can be strengths. He said that he's a better football player than he was last season. Kirk Cousins is still going to be the accurate Kirk Cousins. How much are they going to be able to protect him? Can they replace Dalvin Cook? And the huge mystery is not with their offense as much, it's with their defense. How are they going to get productivity? How are they going to create turnovers? How can they get back into the top half of the NFL as far as a defense? Because the defenses they put out there recently have not been up to the par of the purple of the past. So that's what I think about the Vikings. I think they're in a tough situation as far as Kirk Cousins, as far as how much more money into the future are we going to pay him.
Yeah, and your thoughts on the facial hair of young Kirk?
I'm all about it.
Is Kirk the thirstiest
Kirk
quarterback?
Cousins of late is a lot more likable guy. His teammates embrace that. I talk to people inside the organization. He's doing all that he can to try to win as many games as possible there in Minnesota. They had a sensational season last year. A lot of late comebacks. Can they duplicate that? And their defense, Brian Flores, he's going to have to do some miracle work. If their defense is good this year, Brian Flores should be a head coach in 2020.
Oh, we'd love to see. I mean, they lost Eric Kendricks, of course. They lost some pieces, but there's a couple questions, but hopefully they can do something this year. The Rookie of the Year odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook, they like that Jordan Addison kid. Now, I know you talked to Justin Jefferson, had a nice conversation, so much so that you tweeted the best wide receiver in football got better this offseason, scary for the league. But what about the Rookster and what he could be capable of filling in as the number 2?
Well, I think he's in a great situation. Typically, when we look at rookies of the year, you're looking at teams that are really dependent upon that productivity. And I think he's in a great situation, not only because Justin Jefferson, but their tight end is amazing. And I believe if they can keep him healthy, he's going to have another Pro Bowl season after an abbreviated season last year being traded from Detroit. And I think one of the most underrated players in their offense is KJ Osborne. Watch out for him because he is legitimate number 2 right now. So I think he's a great fit, Addison, for what they do. His speed, his ability to be able to catch the ball in traffic and make people miss. I believe they're going to really enjoy him there in Minnesota. Also, he's got one of the best wide receiver coaches in the NFL, in Keenan McCardle. I mean, he teaches it straightforward. He's gotten productivity out of almost every position that he's been at in the NFL. And that's what you see with Justin Jefferson also. So him being in that room is going to elevate his play. But I don't know if he's going to get enough targets to be Rookie of the Year. But he's got that protection around him that he's going to have a sensational rookie year. And his career is going to be off to a great start. So he is someone to watch there in Minnesota.
I mean, nobody else better win that division then, Cris. Sounds like they're good.
Detroit, the roar is back, man. Detroit is for real. Detroit's got me nervous. I think Chicago has improved. It's impossible to improve in Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers being there. So I look for Green Bay to take a step back. But, yes, the Lions, they should be the favorite in the North.
Does any part of you think that Aaron not being in that locker room might be an actual okay step for this squad? Just like the pressure of having the MVP, the window. Now the expectations are so much lower. Couldn't that help Green Bay, or is that just me being cute?
No, that's you being real cute there. I like the way you did that and everything. Cute works for you, Kay, but come on, let's be real. You've been in these locker rooms.
Yeah.
It's about balling. We don't care if he's got a limp. We don't care if he's got all different types of things that we have to deal with. We don't care. We want the talent. We don't care about the distractions. We'll deal with that. We're used to having, as the great Bill Walsh said, I got 5 crazies on each team. So we're used to dealing with some craziness, some divaness. Come on, don't be cute.
No, I know.
Let's bring the talent.
It's crazy to think Jordan Love taking over this team. He's the veteran on offense, outside of Aaron Jones, some of the running backs, and Bakhtiari, some of the O-line. But in that wide receiver room, it's him leading these young cats, saying, like, let's do. But it might work that way. It was a take that Robert Mays at The Athletic had. We'll see what he thinks of it going on. But Cris Carter's like, absolutely not. MVP, Hall of Famer, like rare air. We get it. I want to talk to you about the rare air of Ohio State, because speaking of Aaron Rodgers, it was him to Garrett Wilson. Everybody's talking about them like it's going to be Burrow to Chase out there. But you and your school really have a lot of receivers lately, okay? Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's hurt, of course, Garrett Wilson. If you could pick only one of them to build and to pick and draft for your football team, who would you pick?
Oh, my goodness. Now, okay, you guys didn't have that on the pre-information, the scouting
it's a tough
report.
One. I know.
Hey, I'm going to say this. I got to go with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay.
And the reason why is because he's got size that none of us have. He's got equal the speed of the guys that we have seen. And Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, these guys were amazing. They were amazing. Jackson, he's going to be amazing in Seattle once he gets over his injury there. Brian Hartline does an amazing job him and Ryan Day of developing these guys and making sure that they are trained the right way. They're so unselfish. But Marvin Harrison Jr. and
Chris,
what he's doing.
That's a cop-out answer. That is not, he's still in college.
I go with Garrett Wilson because he's got the athleticism none of those other guys have. I mean, he can go vertical off the ground. He's got breakaway speed, and he's going to have a couple years with Aaron Rodgers, and that's the difference between all those other spots. Olave, amazing rookie year there with the Saints. Yeah. Jackson, he's going to be nice in Seattle. But the kid in New York, he's got a special combination already. We saw this weekend in the preseason.
I love that we're talking Marvin Harrison. I mean, he is the bona fide #1 wide receiver off the board next season for sure. And the fact that I even know who that is when I don't watch the college game, we know how good he'll be. Now, Justin Fields, since you love talking about Buckeyes, apparently, let's keep this going. Former Ohio State kid, he played in 2 preseason games. He's got the new wide receiver everybody expects the world from in DJ Moore, and they've hit on a few nice big plays. Is the addition of Moore enough to make Fields make the jump as the passer that we know we want him to make? It's a lot of pressure on Moore.
I mean, DJ Moore is going to be a great player, and they will be dependent upon him to be able to open up the field to the passing game they haven't had in Chicago in a long time. There are very few players as explosive as he is. Look at the training camp reels. Wide receivers, our legs are tired. We don't have that burst in training camp. We typically start getting our burst about right now, getting ready for the regular season. You saw him running. He was in mid-season form. I mean, taking short passes, taking it the distance, ability to develop the route tree. That's what he's really underrated at. He's a better route runner than people give him credit because people weren't watching him that much there in Carolina. But yes, that's the type of combination that helps the wide receivers and the quarterback, both of them to be able to grow. But they still need to keep adding pieces. And that should keep Justin, it should keep him in the pocket more because he can trust his throws going down the field. But his development will be very, very important to how competitive the Bears are this year. Huge year for Justin Fields and the Bears.
Huge year for that offensive line. They got to keep him healthy. I don't know that they've had much time together at practice or through the preseason all together. So you got to keep him healthy. You don't want to see any more injuries or just stifling to how good and how his abilities can just hit the ceiling this season. Tom Brady, we know his abilities. Soon to join you in the Hall of Fame, that rare air of the best to ever play the game. But he's doing all sorts of weird stuff. He's like owning teams and, like checking out Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he's obviously minority owner of the Raiders, but here he was hanging out with Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones. Like, is he out there talking to Jerry, like talking shop, or is he saying, "Hey Jimmy, how's your elbow? How's your collarbone? I want to get out there at some point and throw the ball"?
Well, I don't think Tom is going to play. I think that at this point in his life, what he's contributed to football over 20 years, I mean, he's having the time of his life. When has he ever been able to go to a stadium, trained by Belichick, trained by the Patriot way, that he's been able to go to a stadium and really, really enjoy himself and cut loose? I'm glad that he's having fun. He is the perfect part owner at this stage. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the majority owner of an NFL team.
Wow. What
a standard that he has set as far as the players that ever played this game. Not only how they do their business on the field, but how you do your business off the field. Tom Brady is the benchmark. He is the standard for doing that, and it's great to see him out there. It's great to see him enjoying himself all around the world. But yes, he should be attached to football. I'd much rather him be an NFL owner than owning one of the European soccer teams or something abroad. Yes, we need to keep him right in the NFL, and I'm glad him and the Raiders came to an agreement to be able to. There go my dogs, Kate.
I love your dogs.
Lola, come.
Lola, I love Lola. Okay, do you and Lola have a prediction for the season? It could be Super Bowl, it could be in-season, somebody that's going to pop off. Like, give me like the Cris Carter certified prediction for 2023.
I think Baltimore is going to surprise some people. I think Philadelphia legitimately 15-2. I mean, they are the dominant team in the NFC. And Patrick Mahomes is our modern-day Tom Brady. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a rematch in the Super Bowl. They're the cream of the crop. See if we can get them to that last game. Let's do a rematch. Let's do it over again.
I didn't
See
hear
if we can get pass interference late in the game or something like that. Patrick Mahomes scrambling with a bad ankle. Let's do it again.
Do you think the Ravens have a better year than the Bengals, Cris? Ooh, it's hard.
I think that could be one of the things that people look back and say, who didn't make the playoffs last year? Who's in this year? The Ravens, I do believe, are a playoff team.
Yeah, with Odell, with Zay looking the way he does, if they stay healthy, that defense, they are going to be much. And honestly, if everybody wasn't obsessed with Aaron Rodgers nonstop 24/7, everyone would be talking about the Ravens all offseason. It's true.
And the best special teams. They got the best kicker that we've seen in pro football.
Look at you, Cris Carter, giving a kicker some love on the way out, and that's why we love you. We appreciate you for joining us and picking Marvin Harrison Jr. as the NFL player. You are the actual best, and we appreciate it. Thanks, Cris.
I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest Up and Adams content right on YouTube.